And I will try to go live here. Singing at me, which would really look bad. All right, world, we're trying to come back. If you can see or hear us, it would be awesome if you could let us know that, because we're kind of dealing with the ghosts. We got lots of ghosts in the system today. Oh, that's not the one. Come on, refresh. Hey, can you check Facebook again?
Okay, hold on a second.
All right, looks like Facebook is... Oh, okay, so it looks like we're back on Periscope.
Okay.
What are you seeing on... Oh, look. Hey, Amy! Thank you. Once again, you ride to the rescue letting us know. We're having an interesting morning. We've got all kinds of ghosts in all of the equipment. We were going along smoothly, and then everything crashed big time. So we are trying to get everybody back up, but if Amy is hearing us and seeing us, then it looks like we are good there. You're seeing us too?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, just give me one more second here to make sure that it's not going to happen again. Theoretically, she says optimistically. Yes, I did wear Halloween colors. Since I didn't get a chance to decorate the set, I figured I would at least wear Halloween colors.
And I'm the disembodied head.
Well, somebody had to be, right? Okay, I think we're good. I think we're up and running and rocking and rolling more or less here.
Okay.
Hello, Periscope. Can you see us? Roman. Yes, okay. Looks like Roman joined on Periscope, so it looks like we're live on Periscope. All right. So, see, this is what happens when you try to do a show on Halloween outside your regular time. The ghosts say, oh, yeah? Right. Good luck with that.
Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween, and welcome to the BA Zone Live. Today, we're going to be talking about brainstorming and how to tap into your creative side. And we were just very creative a few minutes ago trying to get us back up. Have you ever been in a brainstorming session before? If so, just comment a yes or a Y, or an N or a no. And please share the session or invite anyone you think might be interested in this information. Before we kick things off, as usual, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Marianne Morrison.
I'm Kathleen Sinnott. Despite the fact that I keep trying to make somebody else be me, it keeps end up being me.
And we are the founders of the BA Zone, and we created the BA Zone to help everyone who creates and maintains business and technical requirements. Whatever your business analyst questions are, we can help you get to where you need to be. Okay, Kathleen, are you ready?
I need one more minute. Just vamp for a second.
You vamp for a second. Oh, let's talk about my...
You can do improv, right?
Okay. Yeah, we can do improv, absolutely. As I was saying before, in the pre-show, I have skeletons hanging out front for Halloween, and the wind did not take them away because they are zip-tied by about 50 different little zip ties holding them onto the front porch. There's a little tin cup out there because people keep coming up and taking selfies of my skeletons. And I'm photobombing in the background when I see them at the window. So it kind of, they'll get home and they'll be freaked out. They'll be like, who's that ghost in the window? But it's just, and we've had a lot of interesting things going on today. We've disconnected the doorbell so that the kids can't get their candy for another couple of hours. The dogs are put away, we think, and hopefully no more ghosts in the machine. How is that?
So it sounds, Amy's saying that your sound is a little bit lower, so maybe get a little closer to the mic, or if you know how to push up your mic, because I've got you maxed out here.
All right, let's take a lookie. This happened to you last week, actually. Your mic was low. So
my
mic
went way too low last week.
I have a chance now to do my mic. How's that? Is that a little bit better, or shall I just speak up?
Yeah, that seems to sound better for me. Amy will let us know in a second. Thank you, Amy. Hey, Roman, how about you on Periscope? Are you hearing us okay? If you could toss a heart or say yes or something, that would be awesome. Let me see here. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. One sec. See, I know I was forgetting something. My brain just wasn't telling me what. Un momento.
Again,
little dance sequence here.
This is early for us at the BA Zone.
I've
We
had
normally do this at
no
night.
caffeine yet. None.
Yeah. And I've had a few, but not my usual IV of it. So we're we're a little frazzled, to say the least, this early in the morning.
We're
Kathleen and I are
struggling a
sort of
bit.
night people.
Oh, totally. If we could do the show at midnight, I'd be rocking and rolling.
That's right.
Oh, no, okay. So I misunderstood. She said your camera is lower, not your sound. Okay.
Right.
She's telling us to stop vamping and move forward. I like that
Alrighty.
idea. I think Mayor
Carry on.
agrees. Okay.
I agree. So, Kathleen, are you ready to start?
I am just about ready to start. Now, I'm going to really push our luck now and suggest that you stick around to the end because if Amazon cooperates, I will be able to give you the URLs for the giveaway that we're doing. But of course, like everything else today, it's not really a guarantee because I've set it up, but for some reason, they're not giving me the links yet. But
It's
stick
sort of
around,
trick.
see if we get them.
Right. It's sort of trick or treat.
That's
So rich.
perfect. That's exactly what it is. Will this be a trick or will this be a treat? Who knows?
Stick around and find out.
Well, they say, right? Live TV and working with animals. These are things that most sane people probably avoid. Alrighty, let me shake it out. Okay. Hi. All right, so let's see if we can get to some content here and set up our little stand-up act. Although, come on, we are entertaining if nothing else. Okay, so let me see. I'm pushing our luck all over the place here right now. All right, so as we mentioned, amongst all the other things that were going on, today we're talking about brainstorming and how you can use that as part of your requirements gathering. So let's see if I can get this to work. Yay, something worked. Okay, so the definition of brainstorming is basically it's an informal group process. So you can use it to collect information, to solve problems, or even to find new questions. I should read the official one here. So an informal group technique that uses intensive discussion to solve a problem or generate ideas. In other words, brainstorming uses techniques to stimulate your imagination in order to tap into your creative side. And it's not really just you, it's everybody. So the idea here is that you get different brains in the room and kind of take off all of the usual leashes on people and kind of set them free and say, just throw the ideas at it and we'll move on from there. Okay, your turn.
Right. And brainstorming is used in every industry, probably. They use it in universities, they use it in every type of business. And we actually do it almost all the time on our own. We're always talking with people about, how to set up our Halloween decorations. Everybody's getting together and brainstorming. And when do you use brainstorming? Well, you want to use brainstorming when you need new or creative ideas. For example, if you're launching a new product or you want to create a new product or a new application. If you need a broad range of options are required for the solution or the approach. Although everybody thinks they have all the answers, we really don't. And when you work together in a group, you sort of just jump off of each other as to, you have an idea, I can expand on that idea. Somebody else may pick up a new idea from that. So when you need a lot of different options, it's great to have a variety of people in a room who have different backgrounds that can bring that to the table. It's also great for requirements gathering, or any type of information that you're trying to gather from a diverse group of people. It's sort of a good jumping off point before you get into your business analysis if there's not a lot of documentation out there, or you're just trying to get a lot of information quickly and get the different opinions from people and maybe their pain points and that type of information. And you can also use it to move beyond a problem, a roadblock, or you're stuck in a rut and you don't know where to go from here. Getting a bunch of people in a room and feeding off each other, not to use a zombie term on Halloween, but is it's a great way of producing a lot of ideas or a lot of solutions to a problem.
Yes, it is. And now I'm getting phone calls. Hang on a second. Okay,
Don't answer them.
This is going to be really informal today because, what else am I going to do? All right, hang on. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And there we go. Okay, so, whoops, let me get my lovely face off of here because you can't really see this whole slide here. There we go. So, basically, when you're going to do your brainstorming session, it's really important to lay out the ground rules, and there's really only 4. You do this for a couple of reasons, sort of a refresher for the people who have been in them before, but maybe hasn't been in them for a while, but also so that the new people will also get the information, and also just to remind the rogue folk. So there's always rogue folk in the room. So the basic rules are, you introduce the problem or challenge in the form of a question, usually, unless you're doing one where you're looking for questions, which we'll get into later. And you remind everybody that they should speak freely. The whole point of this is to suggest as many ideas as they can come up with. The crazier the better, because sometimes that's where the really good stuff is hiding. And the other participants are encouraged to build on the ideas that are being tossed out, and remind everybody, and you might need to do this a couple of times, that the point is to not criticize, discuss, or evaluate anything. It's just throwing ideas at the wall. That's the whole point of this. And as long as you keep reminding them of all these 4 things, you're going to have a really successful session.
And you must enforce those rules. You must be the enforcer, which is difficult when you're a facilitator and you get a lot of people in the room who may have really strong opinions. But why should you use the brainstorming? It's going to give you a plethora of ideas that some may be good, some may be, we don't say good or bad in the group, but some may be more appropriate, some may be less appropriate, and some may actually, create additional brainstorming ideas. There's nothing like getting people in a room, and especially if you can make this fun. I mean, if you're not having fun, these can be sort of a drudgery. So you as the facilitator has to create an atmosphere where this is sort of fun. And people do want to get away from that every day, even though they hate to tear themselves away because everybody's a workaholic today. It's great to get everyone in a room. It promotes team building. And you want to create that safe environment where people can exchange ideas, and that basic rule of not evaluating or criticizing or judging any of these type of ideas is paramount to letting the ideas flow and the creativity flow. This is used in the entertainment industry. You don't get a lot of people, it's just idea storming, and it's you just got to create that safe environment. Once you do that, it's going to motivate people towards a common goal. You're going to create this sort of synergy of ideas flying around and this safe area where I can say anything, I'm not going to be judged. And it really does sort of focus everyone towards creating a solution to a problem or creating a new product. And that in itself creates that team building and gets everybody in a positive mode.
Positive and creative. That's all the things we need right now to keep the ghosts away. All right, so let's start walking through the steps. Oh, there we go. Okay. So before you get your session started, you want to make sure that you've clearly got in your head the issue that you're going to be talking about, the question, the problem, whatever it is that you're trying to solve. And then you're going to want to define that specific issue or opportunity statement to describe the objective. Then you're going to want to create a list of questions that are related to that statement. Now, you may or may not need all of them, but you're going to want to have those in your pocket to kind of keep things moving along. As you go through the process of brainstorming, very often things will, slow down, or people will kind of, take a breath. And after that breath, you want to get them back on track. You want to select and invite the people with different types of expertise, experience, perspectives, different people across the business line if you can. But just get as many different brains in the room as you possibly can. You want to create a space to capture the ideas so that it's visible to everybody. And you may need to use a combination of things depending on whether or not everybody is on site. So certainly, whiteboards are handy to have, flipboards. But if you've got some people off-site, you're going to want to do some sort of sharing. Now, there's actually tools that are built and available online where you can do these kind of brainstorming sessions with everybody online. So you get people, nobody in the same room and everybody working online, or some mix of it. Or you can just get by with, Skype or something like that, as long as, somebody remembers to keep flipping the camera from whatever it is that's being written down to the people who are talking, so that everybody who's remote does feel like they're getting all the information. And you want to make sure you supply, on top of everything else, I'm losing my voice. You want to make sure you bring enough supplies for everybody. So you want to give people colored sticky notes, pens, passwords, chalkboards are good. If you've got those mini whiteboards, those are handy. But frankly, even, handing out paper and markers is just as good. Whatever you've got at hand, you can make work. You just need to be a little creative, which is the whole theme for our day today.
Right. And just to add to that, it'll also help with making any types of little prototypes. That could be part of your storming as well, to get all the ideas out and then create some prototypes. We'll talk about that later. But having enough supplies to create those little things is also a great thing to have in the room. Okay, step number 2. What you want to do is you want to introduce the facilitator or the team lead. Now, if you're lucky enough, some people will hire a really good facilitator, but most of the time the facilitator is the business analyst or the team lead. So you want to introduce your role, review the 4 basic rules that Kathleen had talked about, and put them up somewhere really prominently where everyone can see them so that you can keep reminding people, especially those who would like to criticize or, that's a big one. And keep those rules visible. And you're going to talk and discuss about expectations of what's going to happen and how long you're going to speak. And it typically, people get going quickly and then they might, as Kathleen said, peter out, and the ideas eventually will run out. So, somewhere between 30 minutes, 45 minutes, tops an hour, and people, it won't be as much fun. And you can do multiple brainstorming sessions. You can create a huge list of ideas and then focus in on the better ideas and have another brainstorming session around those ideas that may pan out better than others. As the facilitator, you're going to have to reinforce those rules, and you're going to have to do it diplomatically. And so you want to speak to that a little bit of how that's going to happen. And also, you want to discuss and agree to how you're going to rank the ideas at the end of the brainstorming session. Like we said, we don't evaluate or criticize during the first part, but when you get into the second part, when all the ideas have been exhausted for that session, you want to then take those ideas and sort of rank them. Now, the people who do the storming aren't always the people who do the final decisions of what they are going to build or how they're going to proceed. However, you got to give those people a chance to rank what they think are the appropriate ideas, and that's great information to give to the folks who are making the final decisions. So you just, ranking may just be, you take all these ideas and you categorize them into best in breed or something that's, whatever the categories are. And you just have people go up and put little red stickies or rank them one, pick 5 ideas and rank them. And then you can discuss why they were selected. And it just gives the people who are making the final decisions a little bit more information to go on.
Hey, Amy likes the idea of calling them storming. It was a dark and stormy night, and then we did our brainstorming.
There was a knock at the door.
Slowly we turned, step by step. Sorry. I'm really into Halloween.
On a hat company. Wow, we're going back. Abbott and Costello.
Well, yes, I have a rich resource because I like all of that stuff. I dig around. You go on internet, you can find everything. Doesn't matter when it was done. All right, sorry, let's get back on track. So, number 3, the warm-up. So the idea of the warm-up is to get everybody into the creative mindset and kind of break them out of whatever it was that they were doing before they stepped into the room. So people use, games and exercises to kind of wake up that part of the brain that does the more creative stuff. So you can play, what-if games. You can play, you can do the, one thing that nobody knows about me. So you say 4 things, and people have to guess which is the one thing that, nobody knows. Or you can do it where one is a lie out of the 4 things. It's just general stuff like that. So if you're stranded on a desert island, name 3 people dead or alive that you want to be stranded with and why. Some people do a variation of that where it's, if you could have dinner with anybody dead or alive and why. If you could be a character on a TV show, who would you want to be and why? Now, the one warning about this is you have to read the room. Sometimes the people that you have there are not going to respond well to this kind of thing, so you have to be aware of it. Very often I've found that, if I've got upper management in the room, sometimes they just don't want to do this, and it already puts a bad tone on the thing. So you have to be very careful about who you're doing it with. Most times it's fine, and it does get people moving, but just be a little careful, just in case. Sorry, hang on a sec.
When that happens, I just call them out on it. I go, you need to play.
Yeah, but you don't want to. You want it to be a creative session. You want them to be engaged. So if you get the vibe that you've got a group of people that are just not going to go there, you may want to change it up a little bit. And instead of making it so much of a game, maybe do like a little mini brainstorming session with some little one, some little question you have on there that you know you're going to get through quickly to kind of get everybody into the flow of it. It's the same idea. It's just a slightly different approach to, meet the needs of the people in the room.
Right. Step 4, this is where you're going to create a storm of ideas and maintain that. So the first thing you want to do is state and display the objective of the session. You want to put it up on a whiteboard where everyone can see it. And you want to make sure, everyone can see all the ideas that are generated as well. In traditional brainstorming, the ideas are offered by each participant in turn. Or you could do this randomly, but in turn may draw out the folks that are really shy or quiet, and it's also a way to move people on who are sort of taking over the brainstorming session. And there's variations of this, but this is the traditional way of doing it. The facilitator, or what they call the scribe, records the unedited idea up on the board where everyone can see. And by unedited, you want to make sure that you're getting the gist of what that participant has really said, and you can have them verify that. You don't need to do it word by word, but you just want to make sure you're not editing it in any way based on your own viewpoint. The variation of having someone up there, they call it the power of the pen. This little checkpoint of the participating verifying that they've recorded it correctly sort of takes a little of that power away. And your other option, which we'll get to a little later, is brain writing, where everyone writes it down, and it's not a facilitator or a scribe writing it up on a board. And the brainstorming phase of the meeting or session continues until you run out of ideas, or the ideas are exhausted. As a facilitator, like Kathleen had said, there's going to be lags and there's going to be stops, and that's where you need to prompt people and re-engage them and say, well, what if we thought about it this way? Or, what if we changed your gender or changed a different attribute? And you've got to keep continually prompting them until those ideas really are exhausted, or until the time runs out. And that'll get you the best storm of ideas.
Okay. And come on, there we go. Oh, that's good. Something else. All right, there we go. Don't you crash now. No. Don't you crash. Hang on a second, folks. We're having a little problem here. Oh, no. This is not going to happen again because we've already had it happen.
Well, it may. So I'll speak while Kathleen is handling the technical issues. Step 5, if you can see the slide, is the next phase of the storming, which is what we talked about a little while ago, which is ranking the outcomes and next steps. At the end of the session, as I said before, this is when you really start talking about them and evaluating these ideas. You're going to refine them. You're going to allow each participant to select and rank their top 5 ideas and why they selected them. This really gets into, and you have to do this in a diplomatic way as well. I mean, if there seems to be a weaker idea up there, you don't really want to shut it down, because the next brainstorming session for that person who had that idea isn't going to go so well. So what you want to do is try diplomatically to sort of combine those weaker ideas into a category with a stronger idea. So maybe it's sort of a subset of a stronger idea. So, as a facilitator, it's a good idea, if they're on sticky notes, to sort of move these pieces around and try to categorize them, and have the participants move them around as well into different categories and decide what those categories would be. So as I said before, the group that does participate in the brainstorming, not necessarily makes the final decisions unless you're in a small company. And I mean, I have been before where they also make the final decisions as to what's going to happen with the product, the application process, etc. But again, it might be done by a different group. So they just need to be aware of that up front and give them all this information. You want to retain all this information that you took a lot of time doing. You can quickly photograph it if it's on, a whiteboard that automatically captures the information. That's great. You want to retain anything that they might have created during a prototyping, and it's all good for analysis for yourself and the decision makers, and keeps up backup information so someone can say, hey, where did my idea go? And after the fact, you want to communicate the notes and the plans and whatever the next steps might be. And part of that communication process may be that you give all of the folks that are in the brainstorming, or maybe even people that couldn't attend the brainstorming, you might want to give them some additional time to create some other ideas. And again, if you do a second brainstorming where you're going to drill down on the best ideas, you can add these new ideas and evaluate those as well. So you just want to communicate. Communication is key, either in the brainstorming, after the brainstorming. Life in general, communication is key. So you want to make sure you get that information out and absolutely act on it at some point so that the next brainstorming session goes just as well or even better. Kathleen, would you like me to take this slide, or?
I can give it a shot if you want.
Okay. Technical difficulties resolved?
I think so. I think we're okay, but we'll find out in a second if it all crashes again. All right, so there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about it. I mean, most people have been doing it the way that we've talked about, but there's also this idea of reverse storming. So that's the idea that we mentioned earlier, where instead of looking for answers, you're looking for more questions. So very often I find this is handy if things seem to be going too well. Sometimes you get this feeling like we're missing something, but I don't know what it is. So sometimes you want to get everybody in a room and purposely go looking for problems, because it could just be that they haven't thought about it. Everybody is very comfortable as you're going through a project thinking about the happy path, as I like to refer to it. When everything's going right and everybody's lined up right and all the systems are cooperating. But sometimes you get people in the room and go, okay, but what about when this one goes down? How does that affect everybody else? And kind of walk through these things. Or, okay, if we're talking about doing this kind of thing, but they've done it this way before, where are they going to get confused? So it's another handy way to go about things. Brain writing is a way of doing it if you're finding that people are not talking. Sometimes you get a room full of introverts, and they are just not real comfortable talking. So sometimes it's easier for them to write things down. This is also sometimes a better way to go about things if you're doing it where everybody is remote or a large number of people are remote, because it can be hard to, with the lag in the communication systems, for people to feel comfortable jumping in, or then you've got three people talking at once. So in those kind of sessions, sometimes it's better to have people write stuff, and then you can, specifically say, okay, Sam, could you tell us a little bit more about that? And that way you don't run into that overlap problem. Starbursting storms the potential question related to a concept, product, service, etc. I'll be honest, I haven't done this one a lot. Mayor, have you done this one a lot?
Yeah, it's sort of, if you picture a star in your head, it's sort of the who, what, when, where on each point of the star. And it's all the questions. It's not the potential causes of a problem. It's all of the questions that might be related that users have, or related to products or services, a concept. How many questions can you come up? For example, the product, who's going to use the product? Where is it going to be used? what's it going to do? And why? So it's that type of questions, as opposed to the reverse storming, which works really well if you read the room and you have a really bunch of negative people, or if you work with people a long time. Get all that bad energy out right away. Go through all the potential causes for reverse storming. But so starbursting is more questions related, not the causes, but the who, what, when, where. It's more, I think marketing uses it more so than application design, but it can certainly be transition to that. But design thinking, I think, works a little bit better for applications and software. And Kathleen, you can speak to that.
Okay, see, that explains why I haven't been into many of the starbursting ones, because I tend to not be in the marketing ones. I tend to be on the technical ones.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, so design thinking is where you're generating ideas just like regular brainstorming, but then you use that for a jumping off point to create different in-depth iterations. So where most of the time in brainstorming, you're just throwing ideas at the wall. In design thinking, you're kind of mixing brainstorming with a design session. So you kind of bounce back and forth as you go through the process and as you get the different pieces of information. Because a lot of times, especially when you're on the technical side of things, you need to not only picture, the questions and the ideas that are going up, but their direct impact on all of the related systems or the steps in the process. So by taking the time to just quickly, sketch it out, throw it up on the wall real quick, it helps to move that whole process along. These are the ones, frankly, that I find most useful later on in the process. I find regular brainstorming to be really handy during requirements gathering, but I find design thinking is really handy when you start to get more in-depth in writing the details of the requirements and how you're actually going to solve the problem. Any other thoughts on that, Mayor?
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, when you get into the design thinking uses, whereas the brainstorming piece is really creative and ideas, the design thinking, I think, is a nice mix between the creative and the analytical part of our brains, so you get to get a little bit more into it. So I think the design thinking phase is just as interesting or even more so than the brainstorming phase. If we want to talk about tips for success for
brainstorming. Hang on 1 second. I just want to throw one more up because Amy just tossed up a good idea that we forgot to put on our list. So another way to do it, so basically what we've been talking about is kind of having everybody around the table or online and around the table and throwing ideas up. But sometimes you also want to break people out into groups. Sometimes you're getting the feeling that maybe they're having, different thoughts or maybe not everybody's participating. So sometimes doing that well. So she gave an example of a session that she had done with a fancy facilitator. I like that. I think I want to make that my secondary job title, fancy facilitator. Anyway, she used easel board paper, the sticky types. The Post-it note people have created these giant ones now. So she ripped off a couple of those, put them on the walls, and broke people up into groups, and had each group work on it individually, and then bring those back to the table to discuss. So thank you, Amy. That was a very good thing to throw out there.
Right. It's absolutely a technique, and I've seen them also break those groups up into 2 separate rooms and then come back together. That works well. Yeah, we've done a lot of sessions when we used to work where they do break up into the smaller groups and then come back together as a bigger group. So yeah, there is a zillion ways to handle these brainstormings, a ton of different techniques. And you just got to go out there and mix them up and use a variety of the best ones that work for you. Yeah. Going into that as tips for success, you want to prompt and encourage and challenge your participants using a variety of these idea generation techniques. Put them in a group, put them separate, bring them back together, create what-if scenarios, anything that gets their creative juices flowing. And you'll use more than one technique. You may start off a session using one technique, and as you read the room, as Kathleen had said, you may move into a different technique. So you gotta want to be familiar with a lot of them and just use the ones that work best for you, given the situation that you're in. For these brainstorming sessions, the biggest thing is quantity. You don't hear that very often. It's not about quality in the storming part of brainstorming or brainwriting. The focus is on getting as many ideas out there as possible and feeding off of each other and jumping off of each other's ideas. And you want to absolutely ensure that everyone gets a chance to present their ideas. You'll have a lot of people who are a little on the shyer side, and you want to draw them out, in a safe way so that they can express those ideas and everyone gets a chance. No one takes over the conversation, note the idea and move along. And those are some of the tips for success. Kathleen, do you have any others?
No, those are my favorites, and they're also very good for folks out there who are watching us. Get your ideas out here. Feel free to comment, throw out questions or whatever. Don't be shy. We're friendly.
Please brainstorm and send us in your ideas.
Exactly. Okay, so at this point, I was really hoping, and let me try one more time, to be able to give you the links for our giveaway. But unfortunately, like everything else today, Amazon has not given them to me yet. So I will show you what it is that we're going to be offering, and then, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to come back and visit us. What I'll do is when Amazon actually gives me the links, I will, sorry, I'm making all kinds of noise here as I rearrange things. I will post the links on Facebook and on Twitter. Sorry, now I've learned. I've never tried the Facebook thing before. The Amazon sweepstakes thing. So I didn't realize that it took so long to get them to generate the links. But basically, these are the books. Let's see, there we go. So there'll be two. There'll be one for each. So this is a one that just came out, and I can't pronounce her last name, but Christina, she's well known in on the tech side of things. And she just released this book, and I'm about halfway through it. I'm really enjoying it. And this is my all-time favorite. I give this to all kinds of people in my life. The back of the napkin. Basically, when you're doing these brainstorming sessions, especially when you first get started, you're always like, oh, we need somebody to, make the notes up on the board. And everybody sits there and looks at each other, hoping somebody else is going to volunteer. People have a hang-up a lot of the times about writing on the board. And these are really handy little books. I mean, super simple. It simplifies the whole process of, how to draw the pictures, how to write, so that people can read it on the board. I was one of those people. I did not like writing up on the whiteboard. I was very happy on the computer and then, sharing it on a screen. But you flip through these books, and they're both, Christine's book is what? Oh, is that? Okay, so it's about 160 pages, but it's in a tiny book. It's not big. And it's mostly pictures. And this one, I think, is... One second. It says about 270 pages. But you spend a little time, you walk through these, and you will get over your hang-ups, and people will not only be impressed that you're willing to get up there and do it, but they will be thankful that because you're helping to get the ideas into a form that everybody can understand and either agree upon or not. But at least once you get it up on the board, everybody's thinking the same thing. It's here's for me say this a lot. It's the blue problem. My point being that if you say the color blue to a room and you've got 10 people in the room, you're going to have 12 different colors in people's heads because everybody's thinking a different shade or a garment or the sea, or everybody's going to have something different. But as soon as you go up on the board and write the color, write blue on the board, now everybody's thinking about the same thing. So that's the whole trick. So that's why I thought that these would be good giveaways for this topic. And like I said, I'm vamping here in the hopes that maybe Amazon will come through for me. No? Of course not. Okay, so in order to get in on the sweepstakes, you're going to have to come back, and you're going to have to visit either the BA Zone on Facebook or on Twitter, and I will post the links there. It will be it goes for 7 days, and then at the end, Amazon, with whatever little bot they've got, will pull the lucky winners and contact them.
Lovely. And if you can't get those sites up, I'll go out and do a little smoke rings outside, and people can follow that, or.
Whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes to dance. There we go.
But in the meantime, you don't have to leave empty-handed. You can feel free to get our free ebook on survey guidelines, which was one of the earlier sessions we did. Surveys are another favorite of ours as far as collecting information for requirements gathering and then to test the success or, sadly, failure of the project at the end. So if you go to thebazone.com/survey ebook, you click on, there's a link there you click on. It will, because of the service we're using, they ask you to verify that you did request it. And once you do, you'll get our free ebook. Free. No money, no obligation. Just go ahead and enjoy. And okay. You want to do the wrap up here?
Well, sure. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook. On Twitter, we're at the BA Zone. On Periscope, it's periscope.tv, the BA Zone. On Facebook.com, the BA Zone. And we also have the BA Zone website, thebazone.com. So that wraps up our show. We'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll hope you join us then. And please
hopefully
remember,
with less technology problems. Hopefully all the ghosts will be satisfied with the offerings of chocolate tonight.
We'll all be full of candy by the time you get back and 5 pounds heavier. And please remember to tag your friends or your colleagues, your coworkers, or strangers on the train. Anyone who might find this content helpful. And as always, we're here to help you own the zone of business analysis And thanks again for coming by. And see you next week on the BA Zone Live.
And happy
Kathleen,
Halloween!
happy Halloween!